Teaching you how to win at betting is more valuable than sharing the occasional free pick. In this video, I'm going to show you the process of how to find your own tennis bets and start winning on your own behalf. Believe me when I say best of two sports is the easiest way to learn to become an originator. If you want to find your own bets, then let's crack on and take the challenge. Right, so this is the website that we're going to be using. It's called tennislive.net. As you can see, it's not pretty, but it's free and it's enough for profiling players. Now, you can see on the left-hand side, there is the tournaments this week, or what's taking place at the moment. We've already reached the semi-final stage. We've got the WTA Brisbane, which is a 500 tournament worth about 1.7 million. And we've got the WTA Auckland, which is like a 250, a lower grade. And we're going to click on that one. We're going to have a look at this one. So let's go to the schedule. As you can see, like I said, we're at the semi-final stage already. And what's the match that we're interested in is the Corey Goff against Emma Navarro. So what we'll do is we'll click on the head-to-head and we'll just check them out, how they play against each other. You can see there's been no past meetings between the two players. It is actually 0-0, so that's the first consideration. Whether the age interested of your player, it's not really important when they're quite young like these players, but maybe, you know, if one's getting to like 35, 36, you might want to sort of take it on board. The ranking positions, the total prize money that they've actually won until now, right? So let's dig into individual profiles. Let's start with Corey Goff. And by clicking on her, we can see she's ranked number 3 in the world. That's her highest ranking position of all time. She's already won 12.2 million in prize money. And now it's important to go across to this box here, which shows you a profile basically. That's 3-0 this year. In 2023, she won 52 matches and lost 16. And yeah, you can just basically see all the different years, right? So you can see a strike rate, a win rate is 69.61%. Now, also what they individualize here is the surface, so we can get a good comparison. And we can see that on hard court, which they're playing at the moment, she's 68.71, and on clay, 71.62, and so on. So it is, you know, she's pretty much an all-rounder, we would soon establish from this profile. Now we're going to roll down and we're going to have actually look at you know, the matches that she's been playing. Actually, what we can do is first we can click on 2023 because this year's games don't interest us so much for the time being, and we'll start at the top. So this was basically the end of the season finals, which she qualified for because of her high ranking. And as we work down, you know, we can see she made the semi-final in Beijing. She won the US Open. And the interesting thing is, right, if you actually put your cursor over the competition, you can see what it was worth. So like the New York, the US Open was worth 29.4 million in total prize money, and you can see, you know, the difference in standards, right? Beijing was worth 8.12, and the end of the season finals was also obviously a big one, worth 9 million. As we go further down the list, you can see the smaller tournaments like in Berlin, you know, they're just worth 780,000, right, which is relatively low when you're looking at what's above. And also, you know, you can see she didn't get particularly far in London. But that's what you're actually seeing from, you know, Corey Goff. She obviously is a 19-year-old going places. She won loads of matches last year, and she's only going to get better with age, isn't she? So, you know, that's something you need to take on board. And also, if you want to actually have a look how she's succeeded, you know, how she's actually played in one of the tournaments, right, match details, you know, against a specific player, then just click on the match details and you can see, you know, how she actually performed. That she had 4 aces, 1 double fault in that match, you know, before going on to beat Marie Sakkari 6-2, 6-4. That was in Beijing. If we click the back button, then, you know, what we can also do is we can go across and do exactly the same for today's opponent, Emma Navarro. Probably you wouldn't have heard her, or she's probably less famous, so to say. She's a 22-year-old, ranking position 31. You can see last year she recorded 65 wins from 89 matches, and what's interesting with her is that a lot of her wins came on indoor hard and the clay tournaments. Right, on hard court she's only 53.01%. But if you also look there, last year was a little bit better. She probably won close to double the amount of tournaments that she lost on this surface, and she's already 3-0 this season. So, she's gathering pace, she's starting to get her act together, probably just a late developer, right? So, again, what we can do is we can click on last year's performances, and we can go through what she achieved. And what the thing that sort of stands out is that she carried on playing until the end of the season, or past the end of the season, normal season, right? And she won like a W100 in Charleston, and reached the semi-final in Midland and so on. Yeah, these were smaller tournaments, but she did have a fair good whack early on in the year. If you look at this in San Diego, she reached the semi-final. That was a decent tournament. She's beat the likes of Marie Sakkari there. You can roll down, you can see she's beat Leila Fernandez, the US Open finalist, with Emma Raducanu back in the day in 2019, was it? 2020. So you can actually see the players that she's beat and the sort of success rate that she's had, right? So this is important. Also, one thing I would definitely recommend is always have a look at the proximity of tournaments. So this one ended, she won the W60 in Charlottesville on the 30th, and then she was playing just 4 days later in Saint-Malo in France. So she's had to, she's probably tired from that tournament. She's actually travelled over to France, probably getting prepared, ready for the up-and-coming French Open at that time. And, she didn't get as far as sort of probably expected in that tournament. She was knocked out in the quarterfinals, yes. And but yeah, this is how you sort of establish a player's ability. As you can see what they've achieved in the past, and hopefully it's something for you to sort of take forward. Yeah. If we actually also. Another important factor is, especially with the older players, this sort of horses for courses theory, that if they win a tournament one year, they're probably going to do well in it the next year, or at least get to the later stages. This happens quite often with young players like this. It's obviously going to be a lot more sort of difficult to show that, but it's something that you need to consider yourself, yes? If we look at other websites, such as Core Tennis, right, we can actually see how Emma Navarro has gone up the rankings. So back in April 2018, she was only ranked 1,154 in the world, and this is a chart. This is how she's grown. This is not a particularly good website. All it's got is showing you the sort of ranking history, but you might be able to find it somewhere else. If you can tell us any other sites, by all means drop it in the comments below. But you can see that she's been progressive, and she's doing particularly well, right? So and then if we want to go a little bit further with Emma Navarro, we can look at live ranking. This is a live ranking chart. This actually shows you what's happening at the moment. It's updated every day, and what we can see is that Emma Navarro, she started the week, what did we say, 33, and now she's moved up to a new career high of 31, CH31, right? And she's in the semi-final of Auckland, and if she gets through this round, she's going to get 1,595 points, which will then move up to 29th place in the rankings, right? So that's how these live rankings work. I just thought it was important to sort of show you, how that's sort of plotted around. And we could also look at the odds for that match. Obviously, Corey Goff is a massive favourite, but but she's been winning pretty easy, but Navarro's might be a little bit underestimated there. If we click on the actual odds, this is on Odds Portal, we can see our lines have moved over, since the market opened, right? We can see that when Pinnacle came in, they started at 109, and now they're at 110, and that's how you sort of can follow how the market has moved. Obviously, you can go in the Asian handicap, and you can bet a player to balance out. You can go the -6 games or +6 games, and you can bet Navarro +6 games at 210 if you've got an account there, and so on. While we're looking around, one thing I want to do is show you another player that sort of stands out for me, and that's Alexandra Sasnovich. She's older, she's 29 years old, her career high was 29, and at the moment she's ranked 86, yes. But you can see last year she had a negative balance. She only won 24 over 26 games, and this is symbolic of her a little bit in that she's a talented player. But I'm going to show you something now which is important. You will see that she doesn't really get deep into tournaments. She usually starts tournaments well. She wins the first rounds there. First rounds at least a qualification, right? And but then when it comes, down to sort of nitty gritty, she gets knocked out. The furthest that she made it there was the semi-final of Togenbosch, but she probably benefited from Sansanova pulling out, and but she made hard work of beating Minen in the second. And these are players that are particularly interesting. I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the players that they've beaten, you see she's 86 ranked, we said, and she's beaten last year Emma Navarro, right? That shows you what she can do. She beat the Olympic winner Belinda Benkic, who was ranked probably 22 at the time, right? She's got Azarenka on the menu here, looking Berlin. So you can see, she's actually beaten also the American Open winner, finalist there, Fernandez. You can see she's got the potential to be a bit of a spanner in the works for some of these top players, but she does tend to fade in tournaments, and this is what she can do by sort of profiling each individual player. And the great thing is with tennis, of course, there's only like a couple hundred of players that really sort of count, so it doesn't take you long to sort of get into the thought process of what should be happening and so on. So let's move on to the next part. Other considerations that you're going to have to take on board, and I'd encourage you to watch a lot of tennis to get the proper mindset for this, is things like fitness. You're going to have to watch a player, see if they're actually there wanting to win the tournament, or if they're in good enough physical shape to play the tournament, right? So look for injuries, look for bandaging. A lot of them are carrying like heat bandages, bandaging on their thighs and so on. And so look for the movement, how they're moving across the court, right? If they're chasing the balls down. In this instance also, consider body language, if they really want it, right? And that also comes under the motivation level. If you think about it, right, a big tournament's around the corner, and a top players at a smaller tournament, they're not going to be making a massive amount of effort. One thing is certain, they're not going to get injured in the process just to win it, right? So, bear that in mind. It's really important in tennis to have a sort of a bigger view of what's going on, right? I would also suggest that if you are sort of betting into sort of third round or quarterfinal stages of tournaments, then you're going to have to be a little bit wary of the fatigue factor. So if a player has spent a long time on court, or they played a lot of three-setters, they might not be as sharp. Also look for the turnaround time. We get weather conditions where players have had to turn out the same day, or possibly they played until 2 o'clock in the morning and then they've got to play the next match at 8 o'clock the next day. So this is things that you also need to consider. If there's a big Grand Slam coming up, players are going to be relatively reserved in the actual tournaments before, and these are really things that you've got to get into your mindset in terms of judging, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing. You've got to try to find the right odds. What chance has that player got of winning that game? If you think they've got a 40% chance, right, then you've got to find odds of over 2.5. And that's what's going to make you a successful tennis gambler. So that's all I've really got to say for now. You're through to bootcamp. If you want to join the mentorship program, get across to our website. We're doing some stuff there for professional gamblers to get them to the next level. Other than that, we'll catch you in the next one soon. Subscribe and take care for now. Bye bye.